Welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Griha. We are cutting across to this news coming in from the national capital, and now we are told that the MCD mayoral elections has been called off, in fact, for a third time after massive ruckus in the Delhi Civic Centre. So the Delhi Assembly adjourned amid sloganeering. A third attempt to elect the Delhi mayor has not been successful, and now that election has been called off a third time, polls postponed for a third time. That's the news we are breaking for you. And I have my colleague Akash, who's joining us on the broadcast. Akash, a third time, and this couldn't have gone through because of the unruly scenes that we have witnessed. I'd like to also, ask you to bring our viewers' attention to that plea before the Supreme Court that the Aam Aadmi Party had put forth regarding the election. What happens to that, considering the plea was withdrawn? Is there going to be a fresh plea now, considering the elections could not take place even today?
So we are expecting that Aam Aadmi Party will move to court and talking about that particular plea. So it was withdrawn because Aam Aadmi Party in fact mentioned this particular thing in the court, that now we are going to have another a round of the particular house. And Griha, importantly, this is very important to mention that this is happening for the first time in the history of Municipal Corporation of Delhi, where in fact even before 2012 it was never witnessed that because as per DMC Act it is mandatory that you need to elect one person from the councillors, from the elected councillors as your mayor, and it is something mandatory. But even after 3 meetings, Delhi could not get its mayor. Also, talking about the developments today, so we saw that presiding officer decided and in fact announced that aldermen will be voting in the particular process, and after that we saw that how Aam Aadmi Party started raising slogans. In fact, Mukesh Goyal, who was previously in Congress and is a councillor, is a 3-time councillor, in fact, stood up and said that this cannot be allowed. Also, if I can show you these visuals first, you can see the police personnel deployed. In fact, just a few minutes back, we saw that how Pravesh Verma was actually explaining the whole process and how he was trying to make people understand that it's the presiding officer who will ultimately decide that what will be the process. However, Aam Aadmi Party, as per them, is not letting the house function, and that is the reason why even after third meeting they could not elect a mayor. Also, talking about Aam Aadmi Party, Griha, so just I wanted to highlight this particular point that yesterday they wrote one letter in which they mentioned relevant clauses from the Constitution of India and also from the DMC Act, and in these clauses it has been mentioned that nominated members are not allowed to vote. Now BJP leaders are claiming that there was a case before the Supreme Court of India, and in that particular case they are giving reference of that particular case and now saying that aldermen can actually vote in the whole process. However, Aam Aadmi Party is very much on the very same point that as per DMC Act aldermen cannot be allowed. Also, Griha, Delhi MCD is further divided into zones. So when we had 3 MCDs, so we used to have 4 zones in South MCD, 6 zones in North MCD and 2 in East MCD, and now collectively we have 12 zones.
Yes.
So we had a word with several experts, and these experts are suggesting that aldermen can actually vote, but they can vote in ward committees. It means that in zonal committees they can vote. However, in municipal corporation, the meeting that we saw in the house today, they are not allowed to vote as per DMC Act. However, now only experts will tell, and we are assuming that now Aam Aadmi Party or the BJP for that matter can go to court and will get some sort of clarity on the rules and also the DMC Act that both the parties are mentioning and are claiming that as per DMC Act we are following every rule and every procedure, and this is what Delhi has got finally today.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point that you are mentioning, Akash, considering the BJP is going back to the 2015 High Court ruling, but it is essential for the people to understand that that ruling and that go-ahead for the aldermen to be voting was given for the ward committee elections. Does that argument actually suffice for the mayoral polls is the big question, which is what the BJP is actually citing and talking about. However, Akash, what it goes down to when it is about the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. Why does it go down to a street fight is the big question. Because here, even after losing the MCD elections, the BJP had claimed that they in fact will be, the mayoral elections is an open game. Akash, I'm really sorry. I'm told that I have to go to the next piece of breaking news that we are now getting on the broadcast. Let's actually take a look at that. In fact, we are now told that the Aam Aadmi Party is in the process of moving the Supreme Court regarding the conduct of the mayor elections. The sources in the legal team of the Aam Aadmi Party is likely to file a petition today evening. And recently, Aam Aadmi Party mayoral candidate Shelley Oberoi, remember, as I was mentioning, had withdrawn her petition from the Supreme Court after the date of the polls was set for February 6th, that is today. Akash, this was what we were talking about earlier. And this is what has happened. Another set of plea that has been put before the Supreme Court, pretty much on expected lines.
Exactly, and just a few minutes back I was talking about it, and now our legal correspondent Ananya is bringing this particular update where we are learning that Aam Aadmi Party is in the process of moving Supreme Court regarding the conduct of mayor election. And also, Griha, I was very much mentioning this very point that this is happening for the first time in the history of municipal corporation. You can have several sort of arguments in your favor, but the truth is that both the parties are somewhere responsible. Yes, Aam Aadmi Party has got the numbers, but again, talking about the intentions, because initially in the very first house, they in fact said that we know about the intentions of BJP and that's the reason why we just don't want the particular process to happen. Yes, they did not say it categorically, but we saw that how a drama unfolded in that very meeting. In the second meeting, we saw similar case where both the parties were blaming each other, and now in the third house meeting, we have seen that how presiding officer announced that aldermen will be voting, and then Mukesh Goyal stood up and said that this cannot be allowed, and after that house was adjourned. Now Aam Aadmi Party
Akash, let me actually bring in Ananya here. I'm really sorry to interrupt you there. Bringing in Ananya also, who's brought us that information that there is another set of plea that's been filed before the Supreme Court. Ananya, we were discussing just this, that earlier there was a plea that was filed by the Aam Aadmi Party, Shelley Oberoi, talking about the disruption in mayoral elections. That was set aside. In fact, she had ended up withdrawing the plea because the date was given for today. And that entire premise of the plea really did not make any sense as the elections were going ahead. Now that the elections are not happening today, there is another plea. I'd also want to understand this one thing, that at that time, senior advocate A.M. Singhvi, in fact, had highlighted this point on how aldermen cannot be allowed to vote. So what is the plea that the Aam Aadmi Party has put before the Supreme Court really saying at the moment? Are they sticking to this very DMC Act point where the nominated members cannot be allowed to vote? And if that is the case, what happens to the 2015 High Court order?
Well, Griha, at this point of time, the Aam Aadmi Party is still in the process of filing that particular petition. So, what would be there in that particular petition? What exactly would be the content of the petition? That would be clear only after the Aam Aadmi Party actually files that particular petition. As per our sources in the legal team of the Aam Aadmi Party, what we have been told is that by the evening today, the particular petition would be filed before the Supreme Court of India, seeking time-bound elections in the Delhi mayoral election. So, if you remember that when this particular petition by Shelley Oberoi was actually withdrawn from the topmost court of the country, the court was very, very clear that there are remedies available in the law when actually something happens in the election, post the elections actually. But then since the election have not taken place and these disruptions have been happening for quite a long time, these incidents would have been mentioned in this particular petition that would be filed. The DMC Act would be mentioned. In fact, the 2015 judgment of the High Court would also find its way in that particular petition. But what exactly would be the contention before the topmost court of the country is something that we'll get to know only after this particular petition is filed before the topmost court of the country. Remember that a big battery of lawyers actually represent the Aam Aadmi Party before the topmost court of the country. We generally see senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi representing the Aam Aadmi Party. So would it be Mr. Singhvi who would be actually mentioning this particular petition again when the Supreme Court would be hearing the mentioning on this part? But today, if we talk of today, only a petition would be filed before the Supreme Court. It would be filed in the registry of the topmost court of the country. whether or not it would come up in the coming week is something that is a matter of time, and we'll get to know. Another important question that would come up with time is whether or not this particular plea would be mentioned before the Chief Justice of India for urgent mentioning or not, is also that we'll have to see when the petition is actually filed before the Supreme Court. So definitely